introducing someone that you guys already know. He is really funny. People have thought we've been brother and sister before. People have thought we've been married before. That was really great. But most importantly, we have the same first letter of our names. So please give it up to Jerrod Bailey! Hey! It's like J and J.
I forgot that we got both of those.
Oh, I know, it's so weird.
But in our defense,
great.
Lindsay and I have gotten the same thing. We've been called brother and sister.
My brothers, everyone thinks that we're always married. Like both of my brothers. Isn't that weird? It's weird. Anyway, good times.
It doesn't help that I sometimes perpetuate.
Yeah. You do that. Let's see. So you're taking the kids, right? Which is basically your kids. Okay.
Who's your kids?
They're kidless today.
Oh. Wow. And you guys chose to be with us? I feel so honored. I love that. Thank you. That's awesome. Great, Bailey. Well, do they want to see this? Would you guys? No, they don't.
Been there, done that. Is this loud? I feel like I'm overwhelming myself. Is it loud or is it good?
It seems a little loud.
It's a little loud. Can you turn me
Even I'm mic'd
down a little bit?
on your mic.
You're what?
I'm mic'd on your mic.
Oh, yeah. Testing. Bring it down a notch. All right. So this is a altered talk that a part of what I did for the kids' Sunday school thing for November of last year. I wanted to talk about science and how things work inside of an atom, quantum mechanics, quantum physics. I wanted to talk about how things worked at a macro level. And I wanted to tie all that into this is the universe that God created. Because as I was becoming a Christian, Christians didn't talk about that stuff. It wasn't until I read Universe in a Nutshell by Stephen Hawking, who's like, the most atheist guy out there, that I started to understand that this universe worked in such a way that could allow for this great Christian God that we all believe in. So I just wanted to talk about and just explore with you guys, like I explored with the kids, some interesting things and some mind-warping things. And if we're trying to understand the God of the universe, we probably shouldn't be surprised if our minds have to warp a little bit to understand that God. So I just thought we could talk about some things. So Dan, do you have that first quote?
That's a good quote.
All right, so everyone knows this quote from John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word is Jesus, of course. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. We all hear that, and it sounds like magical thinking. And we've all read the Narnia books where, the lion is walking around in an ethereal nothingness and just roars into creation, all of the things. And that's a very cool image, and it's really sort of this magical thinking kind of image. And maybe it happened something like that. Or maybe it happened a different way. Or maybe it happened with a lot of music. Or maybe it happened with a lot of math. Guess what? Math and music are the same thing, right? And so let's just talk about what scientists and mathematicians think is true about the universe. And let's just ask ourselves if that marries with this. Now, the next quote is from Thomas Aquinas. And I altered a little bit just so we wouldn't get caught up in the verbiage, but the truth of our faith becomes a matter of ridicule among the non-believers if any Christian, not gifted with the necessary scientific learning, presents as dogma what scientific scrutiny shows to be false. Does anybody know when Thomas Aquinas actually walked the earth? And get roughly year? Later. About the 13th century. 13th century.
Wait, that is the 1200s, right?
Yes, that's the 1200s. Is that what you said? Boom, nailed it. So here he is talking in the 13th century about scientific scrutiny being used as a reason to say, hey, you Christians, maybe you're not exactly on the right track. How much have we learned, scientifically speaking, since the 13th century? Just a little bit. Like, it's absurd how much we've learned. We're making quantum computers, for crying out loud. So, this is not an apologetics talk, although you could theoretically use it for it. It's really an exploration. God owns science, just like God owns sex. Those are two things that we try to disassociate with God for some reason. He owns them. He created them. He created the rules that they operate. He created the mathematics in which they flourish. And so anyway, so this is just going to be like a little exploration. I have no idea the pace or timing of this because when I did it with the kids, we were doing crafts. So I won't make you do the crafts part.
It's going to become a 6-parter. I can feel it.
It's probably, or it might be done in 20. It might be done in 20 minutes. Okay, so. Okay, so we'll start with just kind of setting the table here. What are some attributes? Think back to your Philosophy 101 class from college. What are some attributes of God? God is good. Fill in the blank. God is good. Omniscient. What's another omni?
Omnipresent.
Oh. I feel like you have to go to like a Christian.
What's the last omni?
Yeah.
He is all powerful. He can do all things. What else does the Christian tradition teach us about God? I've got my cheat notes here in case you guys missed some.
Oh.
There's a test at the end. Ooh, good. I like that.
Creator.
Creator. Ooh, sustainer. There's a really interesting philosophical argument for God about his ability that he sustains all things, all matter at any given time, because nothing can actually exist without a cause in that moment causing it to exist. So anyway, we won't go into that. It's a super cool argument.
Scientific argument of something has to. Sorry.
Yeah, we can tangent anytime you guys want to. How about, have we ever heard that God is in all things and in all places at once? So omnipresent, but you hear him, you say in all things, right? God also knows all possibilities. This is part of omniscient. He knows all possibilities, right?
He's past, present, future.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really important one for what we're about to do. He's outside of time. Okay. All right.
Working together.
We've heard the universe was created by God and specifically was created through Jesus. It's another thing that we hear, right? Okay, so that's pretty good. So what if we tackle some of this stuff? This stuff can seem like really magical thinking if we just, take the unicorns and rainbows approach. But we're going to get under the covers of the universe. And we're going to ask ourselves, is there room in the universe for this kind of God?
That's a good question.
All right. So we're going to start with an exercise. Do us humans, Greg, I might mess something up, so just rescue me if you see it go haywire.
I trust you more than my wife.
Here we go. Do we see in 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions?
2.
Raise your hand if we see in 2 dimensions. The kids who already know this can't. Okay, 4 votes for 2 dimensions. So does that mean the rest of you think we see in 3 dimensions? Does anybody want to claim any answer?
I vote for 7.
7 dimensions. Ooh,
Seeing means sensation.
fascinating.
2D.
You see 2D, but with shadows, not I watch Rain Games now.
Okay, you think 2D. All right. Does anybody want to claim that we see in 3 dimensions?
We perceive in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, but you can only like see with your eyeballs color
Okay.
and light.
To do this thinking exercise, let's imagine that we are not the 3-dimensional beings that we are. Let's imagine instead, in living in our 3-dimensional world, let's imagine instead that we live in a 1-dimensional world. What is the shape of a 1-dimensional world? Flat? Close? It's 1D. A 1-dimensional world. That is a 1-dimensional world. A 1-dimensional world has only one dimension. It has left and right. It doesn't have depth. It doesn't have height. This world is a single line. Okay, now let's populate our 1-dimensional world with people. What would a person look like in a 1-dimensional world? Well, first of all, it would be a line in the world. Okay, so I have 2 people in my 1-dimensional world. I have my green person and I have my red person. What does this green person look like to this red person?
Nothing.
Technically, yes, but we'll go with a dot. This person to this person looks like a dot because they cannot see over or around. They can only see what's straight in front of them. So in this world of line people, they look like a bunch of dots to each other. Okay?
But the dots would have to be sitting on something.
The dots would have to be sitting on something.
Because the thing is like looking at the black line. Right?
Yeah. But the black line is just the representation of the world. Yeah. But our people, you can see, you get the, so this person could be super long in many colors, and this person would never know it. This person would just look like a green dot. And he could describe himself and say, hey, like, dude, I am really long. Like, you wouldn't believe it. And I've got yellow and orange and green and purple. And this guy goes, yeah, no, that's great. But I see you look like a green dot to me. Super.
Well, how would he know he's long?
So what?
You see yourself? There's no mirror.
He may have an awareness of himself more than this person does. He may have an awareness of himself, but you can't, because you can't see in any other dimensions, all you can notice is that he's a dot. So how do I erase stuff?
Oh, I just put it over here on the iPad.
Oh, great. Perfect. Okay, so that's a 1-dimensional world. Now let's build a 2-dimensional world. What does that look like?
Well,
Does this plant itself? Not really.
everything. It would be length.
There's a 2-dimensional world. I have length and width, but I have no depth. Or height. There's no up or down. What do people look like in this world? Sticks, maybe? What if our people were also 2-dimensional people?
Are we looking for
Yeah, you're like a paper person.
You could have a paper person.
You could have an actual flat person. Let's draw it. What is this flat person? These are people in our world. What does this person look like to this person in a 2-dimensional world? Yeah. This person has no awareness of anything else about this person except their single line of visibility.
I guess they're looking directly.
Right. Now, that line may change in width. As that person rotates, that line may change in width, but I have no idea what I'm looking at. I just know that this person looks like a straight line. This heart looks like a straight line. This person, as dynamic and fun as they are, look like a straight line to people, other people in the world.
Because you can't see like how far away a corner is and how close.
Yeah, exactly. You have no. You may. People in this world may develop the ability to see and use visual cues to guess that something has different shapes, but they're really only seeing in one dimension. So in one dimension, we see in 0 dimensions. In 2 dimensions, we see in 1 dimension. So you guys can see where I'm going. By the way, if there's a wall and this person is in a house, can this person see this person? No. Okay.
Well, no. What if that wall is just like filled? If you filled that wall.
No, this person cannot see, but all they would see is a black line and something behind it. So let's talk about a 3D world. Why do we think we see in 3 dimensions?
Because we see shadows and there's like more depth. Shadows don't do anything. I know that.
So what happens in a 3D world, let's take this. In a 3D world, we see the outline of this, we see the shape of it. And then what our brains do, as this thing rotates in space, is we use a bunch of different cues to figure out what 3 dimensions this is, but we aren't actually seeing it in 3 dimensions. If I show it this way, we are not actually seeing it in 3 dimensions. If I show it this way, it looks like a triangle. If I flip it this way,